You're watching the Florida Insider Fishing Report, and this week we are celebrating 500 episodes, right, Rick? 500!
We absolutely are, Brie, and you know the cool part about this is that 20 years ago, we started this show in 2004, and it's crazy to think Dave has been in every single one of them, Dave.
Dave has? Oh, well, man.
Yeah, most of them, I think.
Yeah. All right, well, we're doing a little sail fishing and reminiscing here on the Florida Insider Fishing Report, which starts now.
Welcome to the Florida Insider Fishing Report, presented by Yamaha.
Hello again, Floridians. Rick, Dave, and I are excited to have you back with us this week because we have a lot to celebrate and talk about 500 episodes worth, right, gentlemen?
That's a lot.
We sure do.
Crazy. How long have I been here? Like 300 of them?
No, you've been here 10 years, I can tell you that. This is your 10th season. Can you believe that?
I can't even imagine that.
Wow, I've dealt with you guys for 10 seasons.
Whoosh! What was that? That was your life, mate.
Look at this, Dave.
Along with Captain Rick Murphy.
Oh, wow.
Watch Dave Farrell, who fortunately doesn't bring stinky stuff this week, but instead some fake stuff.
Fake.
And some new toys this week, I hope, as well.
Yeah, we got a bunch of cool
Look
stuff.
at you.
There's
We
a lot less
actually-
of me
Then
then.
it was a
A lot
less
less of me then.
There was we saw
Rick with a
behind
little
the
mustache
bench.
there.
Look at this crazy
I'm
guy.
coming in soon. I'm coming in soon.
Man.
I'll never forget when you took a bucket and drenched the whole audience in that studio. Do you remember that? Done a lot of crazy things on the show, but it's been so fun. And Dave, you're over here, so that means at the workbench we have some of our original OG captains who have been with the show since the very, very beginning. Pat Deneen, Mike Holliday, and Ronnie Houston joining us today. How's it feel to be 500 episodes old, gentlemen? You look great.
Crazy.
You know what's so cool about this, Dave and Bree, is these guys were the original guys as well.
Yeah.
Along with Captain Page, you know, who couldn't make it tonight. But you know what? It says a lot about the dedication that everybody has for this show.
It does. It's pretty exciting. Well, we're going to start off with SAILFISH in the DYNAPAC Southeast region with Captain Jimbo Thomas. Go for it, Jimbo.
You there, Jimbo? All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started with Jimbo's report. So we're talking about sailfish this week, and we have some of the best sail fishing in the world right here in South Florida, Southeast region. We catch sailfish throughout the year, but December through May are the peak months. Finding blue water and north current are key factors when looking for those sailfish. Like he says, he likes to network with a lot of other fishermen up and down the coast to find where the best water conditions can be. The most effective way to target sails with live herring, goggle-eyed sardines, pilchards, fished under a kite in 80 to 250 feet of water. And if there isn't enough wind for the kite, then they slow troll or drift with live baits, which will get the bites. 20-pound tackle with the 10 to 15 feet of 40 to 60-pound mono and a fluorocarbon leader. The 6.0 and 7.0 circle hook is the standard setup for sailfish. And lately, the sailfish bite has been spectacular on the days when the current is close, as well as lots of double-digit catches and releases have been happening on those days when the conditions add up. And on the slow days with no current, the bite has been fair in 100 to 200 foot range. Jimbo says he's got a sailfish picture here on the Thomas Flyer before catch and release became a common practice, as you can see. And the smoker was busy in those days because they ate a lot of those sailfish, Bree, which is kind of cool, you know, before all of the conservation measures kicked in and circle hook fishing.
Look at that.
Also offshore, we're gonna go to blackfin tunas. The blackfin tunas have been biting in depths of 120 to 250 feet of water. The best baits have been live pilchards, herrings fished under a kite, and the flat lines using 30 to 40 pound leader and a 4 to 6.0 circle hook, or even a J hook, right, Jimbo? We're talking about the blackfins now. You there? So we'll keep moving on. There's blackfins in the 10 to 20 pound range in last week, and the tunas have been biting throughout the day. But first thing in the morning and then best in the afternoon from around 3 till sunset. They're low light feeders, Bree, and they certainly also, the blackfins, can be caught trolled with a small feather in 150 to 400 feet of water, but larger fish are being caught on live baits And like always, live chumming will help bring the fish up. He also has a photo of this young but much cooler Rick Thomas with a nice blackfin tuna.
Look at that hair.
Yep, and those Thomas boys, they've been fishing together a long time inshore. Jimbo says the tarpon, we have tarpon around the bridges and the dock lights at night. Also in and around the inlets, around the bridges, look for the tarpon feeding around the shadow lines on the outgoing tide. And if you can find a color change or a rip, that is where the tarpon are most likely are going to be feeding. That is where you'll want to drift your crabs and your live baits through. Around the inlets and off of the beaches, the live crabs and the shrimp have been the best baits. If the water is real clear, you might want to have to scale down with a lighter leader, and some smaller hooks will get the bite. All the fish around the bridges and the inlets is taking place mostly in the evening, but during the daytime, some of these fish can be caught in and around some of the deeper holes in the bays and the intercoastal waterways, and they are eating live crabs and baits, as well as swimming plugs and even flies. His last species, Brie, is going to be snook. In the same areas as the tarpon, there has also been quite a few snook around. Most of the snook bites have been on live baits, pinfish, herring, shrimp are favorites, but any good live bait should get the bite. If you want to drift live baits along the jetties and the ledges of the inlets using a Jupiter rig, the best fishing has been in the evening, and preferably on the outgoing tide if you're fishing in the inlet. If there's no live bait around, try bouncing a flare hog jig along the bottom or trolling medium to deep diving swimming plugs around the bridges and the lights on the docks, and drift those live baits and artificial baits through the shadow lines on the outgoing tide. So we're gonna go ahead and take a look at Jimbo's hotspots from the southeast region. Jimbo says that inshore, the big tarpon are eating live crabs and shrimp drifted through the inlets and the lit bridges in the evening, and then offshore, fishing live baits in 100 to 300 feet of water has been producing a mixed bag of sailfish, kingfish, mahis, and blackfin tunas throughout the region.
Are you done?
I'm good.
That's live TV, that's how it goes sometimes. All right, well, she might be the newbie on the show, but she's no newbie on the seas. So Captain Sarah, tell us how you're flying the kites down in the YANMAR ASV Keys region.
Hey everyone, congratulations on 500 episodes. That is a lot of episodes.
Lots.
So go ahead, Sarah.
Our sailfish season in the Keys, a lot of people come to the Keys to catch sailfish. It's a great area to catch them. We have lots of fish, but it is starting to wind down this time of year right now. There's still a few fish around, but the best time of year to catch them in the Keys would be December through March. So we're just getting out of it now. But during those winter months, we tend to see the best numbers of fish coming through, offshore. Medium to light tackle is all you need, which is nice because for the size of the fish, you don't have to strap yourself into a fighting chair or anything crazy. You can just stand up and use that lighter tackle to catch them. There's several ways we target them here in the Keys, off the reef. So the captains will, like Jimbo said, they fly the kites and they use live bait, catch them with the kites. Or you can also troll behind, bait behind the boat. Or down here in the Keys, we actually find showering bait, so we can watch bait jump out of the water up on the sand usually, and there could be a sailfish, like a warbird diving down on the bait, and usually a lot of times the sailfish is chasing that bait around and drive your boat up and cast right at them, and that's the most awesome way to catch them is when they're showering on the bait like that. Having good live bait is definitely key to success in catching sailfish, so we use ballyhoo, pilchards, goggle eyes, threadfin herring, all those picky bait species. But here's a photo I took of a sailfish before it was released. Super lit up.
Pretty.
Cool looking.
That's a beautiful fish there, Sarah. All right, what else you got for us offshore?
Offshore, the yellowtail snapper fishing's been good lately. Lots of nice sized yellowtails. They taste great. Really good to eat. Pretty easy to catch. You just got to be patient most of the time. You want to anchor your boat in 60 to 90 feet of water on average. Use lots of chum. You can use oats and sand can help too, mixed with the chum. Put it off the back of your boat, lots of chum balls in the water. Look for good water movement. Definitely fluorocarbon leader because they can see really good. With a small jig head and a small piece of cut-up bait like shrimp or ballyhoo. If you do have a live pilchard, a big yellowtail would eat a live pilchard too, but you just got to be patient. Sometimes you'll sit there and you'll chum for an hour and nothing happens, and then something will change, the current or the moon comes up or who knows. and then all of a sudden the bite is on. So I tell everybody to be patient when you're yellowtail fishing, and usually it pays off. So.
All right, let's go inshore.
Fish to catch on light spinning gear, like the Penn Battle Reel is the one I use. It's fun.
Nice. Let's go inshore, Sarah.
Inshore, bonefish are starting to bite good. The water's really warm now. We're kind of out of winter season. It's almost been really hot lately, so the bite is good early in the morning or either later in the afternoon when it hasn't been blazing hot lately. Stealth is key when you're trying to catch bonefish, so being quiet on your boat and not slamming hatches and stomping around, they can hear all that movement and vibration in the water. We like to use live shrimp if you're bait fishing for them, is one of the favorite baits, but they'll eat artificials too, and of course they go for fly fishing. People come from all over the world to try to catch them on fly here if you want a real challenge. They aren't that big of a fish in general, but you'll think you've hooked a freight train when you get one because they just scream your drag and run like crazy. Like, they're so much fun to catch. One of my most favorite fish to target and catch. Here's a cool underwater picture I took of one, but you can just see how cool they look camouflaged against the grassy flats that they live on.
Yeah, it looks great. All right, tell us about the sharks.
Sharks are, they're just a part of life down here in the Key everywhere. I actually love catching sharks. Some people scoff at them and they think they're not fun, but man, it is fun to hook into a big shark and see jaws come out of the water. They come in all different sizes and options here in the Keys. Those little bonnet head sharks we catch a lot of the times on the flats while we're bone fishing, all the way to big, huge tiger sharks and bull sharks offshore. There's a shark for everyone here in the Keys. They are pretty easy to target. You just got to have some fish carcasses and big chunks of bait, wire leader. You guys know the routine. Some heavier tackle is a good idea if you're going for big sharks. If you don't have a boat, you can shark fishing off the shoreline and from the bridges is tons of fun. There's always people that hook into nice lemon sharks and bull sharks off the bridges, and it's a fun fight. It'll make you sweat. And then you just release them and take a picture, Yeah. In backcountry, there's plenty of, more backcountry sharks off of the skiffs. They catch those big bull sharks and hammerheads. And somebody saw a big tiger shark actually last week up against one of the flats right nearby Alamorada here. It's a 10-footer. They said it was huge.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah, sharks are a good time.
All right, well, thank you. We appreciate you giving us that report from the Florida Keys ASV region. We're going to take a look at the shallow sport boats, hotspots inshore, snook in the backcountry. Live pilchards are best baits, and you're going to want to target them on structure like down trees, creeks, and mangrove islands. And then if you want to go offshore, guys, blackfin tunas are offshore on the humps. Live pilchards or cigar minnows, vertical jigs, and poppers will get the bite. Try to get there first thing in the morning because they are low light feeders, Brie.
Sharky, down there in the Keys. Rick, that's never good. All right, let's look at some tournaments going on in the Florida Keys. First, we have the second annual Marathon Premier Sailfish Tournament, which raises funds for Mission Fishin', a group that provides fun fishing experiences for youngsters with special needs and their families. Next is the Faro Blanco Invitational Tarpon Tournament, which allows anglers to fish 3 nights with 3 different captains at 3 different bridges in the Keys. The tournament raises money for the Ronald McDonald House. Then we have the Tarponian Tarpon Tournament, similar to the Faro Blanco, where anglers fish 3 different nights with 3 different captains at 3 different bridge locations in Marathon. And lastly, we have the Marathon Bull and Cow Dolphin Tournament, where a grand prize of at least $10,000 in cash goes to the team catching the largest bull and cow dolphin fish combined. For more information on Keys tournaments, visit flakeys.com. But now we have our sights set on the FISHBITES East region with Captain Mike Holliday sitting right here next to me. And Dave Farrell is doing his billfish thing over at the CCA workbench for Academy Sports and Outdoors, Rigs and Techniques. Dave, what's going on?
Yeah, I'm going to be talking a little bit about catching sailfish on artificials. Everybody can catch one on a live bait. That's cheating. We're going to talk a little bit about catching them on artificial baits, dragging dead baits.
We'll be back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Fenwick. Feel everything. Sirius XM Marine. Weather. Fish mapping. Entertainment. Penn. Let the battle begin. Casa VIEJA Lodge. 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala. Shallow Sport. Legendary performance. And Daiquiri Deck. Food, drinks, friends.
Look at this one. I'm going to try to hit Brie. Watch. Dave, turn the thing right side up. That's so sad.
Turn the thing right side up, man. You don't
Dave,
I'm
we've
glad
had
that
a
wasn't
lot
that
of
old.
fun over here at the
Yes, we
CCA
have.
workbench, you know, and right now it's time for the Academy Sports and Outdoors.
I'm still a little
Rigs
depressed
and
from
Techniques.
seeing how fat I've got.
Well, you can do something about that.
I
It
guess.
starts tomorrow, but
Yeah.
after we get done eating that cake.
Yeah, right.
So let's talk
That'll
about
help.
sailfish, Dave.
Well, you know, they're a great game fish. You know, they're usually associated with winter sail fishing because back in the 50s, you know, late 40s, early 50s, the sailfish was the king. You know, him and the tarpon. They pretty much opened up Florida to being the fishing capital of the world, and the sailfish was the king of the East Coast. And all the people come, you know, from the wintertime, they would come down and go fishing for sailfish out of West Palm. And you know, they caught a lot of fish back then, and it's changed a lot over the years how we target them, and different places target them different ways. You know, down in the Keys, Ms. Stanzik was talking about how they do the kite fishing, and they do that in South Florida all the way up to West Palm. But in the Keys, they also do the run and gun, which, you know, they'll see the sailfish showering the ballyhoo, and they'll run over there and throw a live ballyhoo in there and catch them.
Right.
That's a great fun way to do it. And from Miami all the way up to, let's say, Stewart, West Palm Beach, in that area, the sailfish come in close to shore, and they're all in 120 foot usually is where you can start. That's like the magic number for me. I always like to start around 120 feet. And between 90 and 150 feet, for a long way, there's a big reef, and the fish will hang on that reef. So the guys who are using kites can easily catch a ton of fish doing that because they don't have to cover a lot of ground. They just drift along that depth range with all their baits out and the live baits, you know, fishing off a kite, which is deadly effective.
Right.
But you don't have to cover, you can't really cover ground other than your drift. So everybody else, we have to troll.
All
and
right.
then that's what we're going to talk a little bit about, you know, trolling dead baits and using little lures and whatnot, dead bait combos, you know, lure dead bait combos to catch sails, because you know, it still works. And I mean, everybody likes nowadays will fish naked ballyhoos on a circle hook. I mean, if you're tournament fishing, that's probably the best thing to do. Have four ballyhoos out and your teasers. But to catch a whole lot of different species, you know, and to cover a lot of ground, you're going to need to use baits that can be covered up a little bit. You know, you put a lure like an island tracker on the front of your ballyhoo, either if you're using wire or monofilament. You know, when I say wire, a lot of guys, you know, say, oh, you can't catch sailfish on wire, but man, you can. You can. A nice pin rig with number 7 wire, you know, like this is a really effective way to catch them, because I can go 7-8 knots with my ballyhoos, and you know, with my dead ballyhoos with an island lure in front of it, and I can go a long ways and move fairly quickly. And up where, you know, where I live at the Cape, you know, I can't start fishing until I'm out 20 miles.
Right.
And then I have to look for the fish. You know, right. my 100 to 150 feet is a long ways versus the 100 to 150 feet down in South Florida. So I have to cover a lot of ground, and I need to go quickly. And
so
I have
what
to use
speed are you going to troll that?
Well, I usually troll between 4 to 6 knots if I'm trolling for sailfish.
Right.
You know, a lot of people say, well, you can't go too fast. You know, sailfish are one of the fastest fish in the ocean. They're not you can't go fast enough not to get a bite from a sailfish. You can get a bite from a sailfish at 18 knots, believe it or not.
Right.
But that's not how you're going to catch all of them. You know, you're not going to catch a bunch of them that way. So you want to slow down to about, you know, 4 to 6 knots. If I'm getting bites, I'll slow down even more, because I want to stay in that range where they are. I try to find, you know,
range meaning depth or area, Dave?
Area.
Okay.
And usually that has a lot to do with the depth, because they don't really, you know, once they're in a spot, they like to stay in that kind of range. It can be a temperature thing. It can be a structure thing, like down south on that reef.
Right.
And up where I live, we'll catch them on structure as well.
Right.
But usually up where I live, it's a temperature break that I'm fishing. And that break is usually between 100 and 100 and 300 feet, even all the way out to 300 feet. We can still catch them. But, you know, you can, like I said, you can still use number 7 wire on a pin rig with a regular old O'Shaughnessy hook.
Right.
You know, and just troll your ballyhoos. I like to troll at least one naked on one of the riggers, sometimes 2, and then I'll troll a couple of you know, the island lures short, you know, because I get a lot of bites short. The sailfish are not afraid of the boat. They come right up and eat.
I understand getting about short bites.
Yeah, exactly.
The whole life has been working.
I'm so glad you said that, Rick, because I was going to. Shoot. All right, well, we have Captain Mike Holliday, another OG of the Fab Four with us. Haha, Fab Four, and we're still setting up for sales in the southern end of your Fish Bites East region with a second wave coming in June, you say?
Pretty much. You know, the winter sailfish population's moving its way south into Jimbo's region and down into the Keys into Sarah's region. But there's still some fish around in southern Palm Beach County off Sloan's Curve in like 120 to 150 feet of water. The rest of the region are getting 1 or 2 shots a day. Most of those guys are pulling either a natural bait or an artificial dredge teaser and then sliding a live bait or a rigged ballyhoo out behind the dredge. And we'll see another good push of sales from late June through mid-July. Those will be mostly small pods of 3 to 6 fish. You control ballyhoo to cover water, but live pilchards, threadfins, sardines, or goggle eyes, either slow trolled or out on a kite, those are going to get the bites and those multiple fish catches. Average sailfish in my region is like 30 to 50 pounds. And I have a great photo here. That's Bailey Carner. She got her first sailfish release in 140 feet of water off Jensen Beach, and that fish ate a slow trolled threadfin. The other bite we got going on, the southeasterly winds of April really fire up the dolphin bite in my region as they push a lot of sargassum weeds into the area. And you know, for the next 2 months, that's when you typically see some of the largest fish of the year, with a lot of them caught either under diving birds or on floating structure like those sargassum weeds. This is a good time to forego catching live bait. Just run out and pull rigged ballyhoo, mullet, squid, or you know, like a strip bait. You can also do the run and gun method, or run in until you see something that looks good, then throw live baits or troll dead baits around that area until you find the fish. Average dolphin in my region right now is like 8 to 20 pounds, and I have a photo of a real nice dolphin the Daymaker charter boat out of Stewart got. That fish came off a weed line in 160 feet of water, and it ate a live goggle eye.
All right, Mike, let's go ahead and go inshore, bud.
Yeah, you know, there's been a good push of mullet in the Indian River and in the Intercoastal Waterway south of Stewart, and that's got the snook fired up along the shorelines and seawalls really at first light and at dusk. Start your day throwing a topwater plug, a dye dapper, or a live mullet up on those walls. And then as the sun gets up, you can pitch live pilchards around the docks, around the inlet shorelines, and on the windy nights, the Roosevelt Bridge in Stewart and the Jensen Beach Causeway have been great spots to get slot and overslot snook. Just throwing jigs, the saltwater assassin, salt and pepper, silver fathom, Artemis shad, that's a mouthful, or an R&R flare hawk jig at night. That's really doing well. And I got a great photo. This is an old blast from the past. That's Captain Mike with your standard snook that came off the Sailfish Point flats, and that fish ate a topwater plug. The other one we got going, the spotted sea trout bite is starting to pick up in the Indian River. In both St. Lucie and Indian River counties, we're seeing more of those big trophy gator trout showing up. That means places like Walton Road, Middle Cove, Savannah Road, and Torpy Road are starting to see their trout along the shorelines right at first light. They're sight feeders, and they feed early, like dawn and dusk when that light is low. The fish are still eating shrimp, but a lot of larger fish are starting to focus more on mullet, sand perch, and pilchards. So this is a good time to throw topwater plugs or a drunk monkey colored saltwater assassin shad. Fish live baits as well in the midday. Throw them out under a quick cork. Average sea trout right now in my region is going to be 1 to 3 pounds, with fish to 9 pounds this week. And here's a blast from the past with a big trout that Captain Rick caught. It might be his biggest trout. He caught that in the Indian River up in Fort Pierce.
That is my biggest trout.
Live sand perch.
I remember that day, man. That was pretty awesome. We were up there filming, but you know what? It's time to give me a bass report, so roll, bud.
Yeah, man, the bass bite on the Toho Kissimmee chain has been red hot, particularly for the people fishing live wild shiners. I was talking to Captain Steve Nymiller of bassonline.com. He said the water levels are down, but there's still 8 to 12 inches of water on top of the grass in places like Goblet's Cove, Brahma Island, and then the shallow areas between markers 22 and 26. Start your day throwing Bass Assassin vapor shads in the shad or shiner colors, doesn't really matter. Anything that looks like a fish is gonna get eaten right now, or fish a June bug colored tap out worm rigged Senko style. And then there's also been a decent big fish bite around the locks for the guys that are flipping heavy cover with creature baits like a Woompah craw in the Hillbilly special color, or really any dark worm with a blue tail. Right now it's a 25 to 40 fish morning, a lot of 3 to 5 pound fish in the mix, and the occasional 8 or 9 pounder. So Tahoe's on fire, man, a lot of big fish.
Yeah.
Nice to see.
500 episodes, bud.
Good to
You've
see
been
you,
there
man.
since the very beginning. I'm so grateful. I appreciate you.
Love being here, dude.
All right, man. Thank you for coming down. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the TNH Marine hotspots. He says pompano in the surf on South Hutchinson Island. Fish bites easy fleas is going to work. Sand fleas or 2-hook pompano rig. And then offshore mutton snappers on the Loran Tower ledge. Use long leaders. And live or dead pilchers, thread fins, or grunts is gonna work for those muttons.
This is so fun, Rick. I'm loving this. All right, well, tonight we are talking sailfish, and if you target sails, you certainly catch dolphin and kingfish, and every offshore fish you catch counts in the CCA Florida Star competition presented by Yamaha. Just enter Star and be a CCA member before you get on the water to make your offshore fishing more rewarding this summer. Catch the first Tigers Tag Dolphin to win $10,000 cash, and in the Canon Kingfish division, you can win Canon downriggers and a Yamaha motor. Register today at www.ccaflstar.com and receive an early registration bonus. But now we're headed to the StarTron Central West and Casa Vieja Southwest region with Ronnie Houston right here in the studio with me. Plus, we're talking to our friend from Casa Vieja Lodge, who is definitely no stranger to fighting a sailfish or two. So keep those lines tight, and we'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Power Pole, Total Boat Control, Berkeley, Your Fish, Our Science, Bahio Sunglasses, Blue Light Blocking, Radically Clear Lenses, SEASUCKER, Easy On, Easy Off, Incredibly Strong, Blue Water Outriggers, everything for your outdoor adventure, Kubota, Together We Do More, and YANMAR ASV, a leader in compact equipment.
Well, as you can see, joining me is my good friends David and Kristen Salazar, the owners of Casa Vieja Lodge in Guatemala. You know, Dave, you have been one of our sponsors of the Florida Insider Fishing Report since the 300th episode. I remember celebrating that with you, and you know what, we're really grateful for the relationship, and thank you for being here.
Yeah, man.
So, Kristen, let's talk a little bit about what if somebody doesn't know what Casa Vieja Lodge is. Why don't you just get started with that?
So we're an all-inclusive bill fishing lodge on the Pacific coast of Guatemala. We have 9 boats down there in a 19-bedroom hotel. We pick you up at the airport. Everything you need when you come down to the coast, you're there ready to go fishing, and it's one of the best sail fishing spots in the world, hands down.
No doubt. So besides sailfish, sailfish and blue marlin, what else do we catch? What are the bycatches?
So we're catching a lot of mahi-mahi these days, of the blue marlin, like you said, and yellowfin tuna. Some football sizes ones. Later in fall, we get them a lot bigger too, about the 80 to 100 pound range.
So you said we had several rooms. How many rooms do we have, and simply tell us a little bit more about the lodge?
So it's a 19-bedroom hotel. We have a pool there for you to come back and relax in the evening. Drinks. Every night we have a 4-course meal. Delicious food, great service, all around great time for your wives, children, for family members. We have the No Sancocho Sailfish Tournament in the fall, which has been sold out every year for the past couple years.
Right.
With that, for every missed bite or Sancocho, it's a $20 donation that then goes to help local schools in Puerto San Jose.
So I understand that you're going to be introducing something new for 2023.
That's correct. That's called the Trophy Husbands Invitational.
What?
We're inviting all trophy husbands, regardless of trophy husband status. Everyone is invited to come, following the same format as Sancocho. So again, for every missed bite, $20 goes into the kitty. We usually range about $5,000 to $10,000 in donations for local schools. So it's a really awesome event. It's about having fun and just enjoying all your friends there with you.
So if anybody wants to know about the lodge, whether it's to come fish one of your cool no pressure tournaments or they want to come down and go fishing, where do they go to find out more information?
www.casaviejalodge.com. You can check us out on Casa Vieja Lodge on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter. We're everywhere. Can call you guys.
And can we go fishing with you, Dave?
That's extra, baby. Yeah.
Yes.
That's good. So anyway, guys, you need to go down there. World-class fishing, world-class people. And I'm going to tell you, we're grateful for the relationship. Thank you so much for spending the 500th episode with us. Where are we going, Brie?
It's about time we acknowledge our trophy husbands. All right, let's welcome our other OG captain, Jeff Page, who is one of the original Fab Four in the StarTron Central West region. Wish you were here, Jeff.
I wish I was there too, because I remember the first one like it was yesterday with our good friend Whit Watson and the team, and a lot of guys have come and gone, but there's still a lot of us still here. And Brie, you're probably the best addition to the team.
I'll pay you later, Jeff.
All right, you got it. You know, we may not have in the StarTron Central West region the sailfish fishery that, say, Jimmy Ross and Mike Holliday have, but when all the stars line up just right and everything's set right in this early spring, even into early summer, kingfish and tarpon season, it seems like those sailfish aren't far behind them. And they're definitely not as big as the East Coast fish, but sometimes they'll get in as close as 30, 40 feet of water, the outside edges of where the tarpons are roaming. And it's not uncommon to find them mixed in with the kingfish, which will be feeding on the big schools of Spanish sardines and threadfins. Pretty much once you find that scenario, it's not a bad idea to put out a couple flat lines or even slow troll some live bait, and you're gonna catch your sailfish. Captain Will Osborne has done real well chasing them. Justin Moore has gotten a few nice ones last season. I don't know if anybody's got one yet this season, but we've had some really rough seas. Anyway, I've got a couple nice photos tonight. The first one is of a beautiful sailfish right up alongside the boat of Captain Rob Roberts, who runs tight lines for our good friend Chris Seeger. And then the second one is Captain Randy Powell down in Venice, and he was out maybe 60 feet of water when he got that one. Staying offshore, mangrove snapper. It's almost like clockwork, Rick. Springtime, summer, the mangs start moving in from way offshore. Guys are doing real well in 90 to 110 feet of water, catching mangs up to 7 pounds. But don't be surprised if they get in even closer on this next full moon that we have in May. The ticket has been live shrimp on a jig head. You can go from a quarter to a half, even to 3/4 if it's deep. Live pilchards will work as well, and the cool thing about the pilchards, you load your live well up, you can chum the snappers up to the top and then flip just about anything you want at them as far as live, dead bait, shrimp, and you can just do it on a bare hook. Key has been light, 20-pound fluorocarbon leader, because our water's been so clear right now, and they're in the entire region. Got a real nice mang picture tonight, again, of Captain Randy Powell from Venice. He sent me some really nice pictures these past few weeks.
All right,
and that's a nice mang he got off of Venice. Moving inshore, snook fishing. Snook remains probably our best inshore bite, especially if you want to catch a couple dozen of them. Guys are catching them up and down the entire coast on the beaches right now. So if you find any trees down, rock piles, like down at the south end of Siesta Key, there's a bunch of rocks. As you get down towards Stump Pass and Boca Grande, there's down trees from the hurricane. Those all hold a lot of snook. Again, it's a good idea to have a live well full of pilchards. You're going to catch them light leader, small hooks again, water's real clear. Inside in Bull Bay and Turtle Bay in the harbor, on the higher stages of the tide, they're around the oyster bars and the mangrove shorelines. And then in Sarasota Bay, around Palmasola and Terracea, same game, let the tide get up. They're going to be up around the oyster bars. If you don't want to throw pilchards, it's a good idea to try that Berkeley Stick Shad 90 in the chrome pattern. My snook photo tonight is of a good captain out of Bradenton, Captain Larry Maroney. He was just out in his little boat messing around, and he got that big girl.
That's a big girl.
Final species. What? Go ahead.
That is a big girl. Go ahead. Tell me about the trout.
Yep. My final species, you knew it had to be the speckled trout. And we've had quality fish all winter and into the spring, 16 to 22 inches, deeper grass flats, down from Port Manatee all the way down to Rattlesnake Key, and then around Longbar Point and the Ringling Mansion in Sarasota Bay, and then even down south in Little Sarasota Bay, below Stickney Point Bridge, above Blackburn Point Bridge. Key is finding grass that's holding live bait. You can throw live shrimp or a soft plastic shrimp under a popping cork. Or if you want to throw top water, that Berkeley Jaywalker 90 in the bone pattern is tough to beat. And my last photo tonight is a PGA legend and golf analyst, Paul Zinger A. Zinger.
Zinger A. Zinger, I love it. Thank you so much, Captain Page. Great report from the StarTron Central West region. He says that the daiquiri deck hotspots are as followed. Inshore, lots of snook lined up along the beaches throughout the entire region. Great opportunity for sight casting, fly, or light jigs. And then offshore, mangrove snappas and 90 feet of water off of Venice. Live shrimp on a half-ounce jig head is gonna be the ticket, Brie.
All right, well, speaking of Daiquiri Deck, join Rick, Dave, and I on our Daiquiri Deck tour April 20th from 5 to 8 in Anna Maria Island, and April 21st from 5 to 8 in Venice. We'll have tons of specials, laughs, and fish stories for you, of course. So come on out and have some fun with us.
All right.
What you think about that?
I think we should go do it.
I think we have another OG
The
captain
Midnight.
with us, the Midnight Riders. Beside me, Captain Ronnie Houston from the CASA VIEJA Southwest region, and I believe best attendance?
100%.
100%.
Have you ever missed a show, Ronnie?
Never missed a show, but I'll tell you what, 500 episodes, okay, 20 years, and a lot of that has to do with the loyal sponsors we've had over the years, the working man, and most of all, if it wasn't for the fans, this wouldn't be possible.
Exactly. Thank you
You
so
said it
much
all.
for saying that.
But you know what, the offshore side, the sailfish isn't really common in my region, so the offshore side right now still remains to be consistent with the red groupers. Seems to be consistent throughout the region in a variety of depths. You know, starting at your 65 to 85 feet, but you're also having to weed through a lot of fish to get those keeper-sized fish. But once you get to that 85 to 120 foot range, chances are that fish caught in that range are going to be going into the box. Now you can anchor up or drifting areas to catch fish. Now, especially drifting using bucktails or vertical jigs to locate these fish, you can come back and catch these fish with baits on the bottom. But also anchoring up with cut baits, along with live pinfish and grunts, are catching solid keepers. Being on the bottom is going to be the key, and a prime example of this past weekend with the tournament before we got this blow, the Red Grouper Bash this past weekend produced some great catches with some talented great captains. Captain Mike Avedon took first place, but I'll tell you what, some of those guys up to the north, he fended them off. There was some really good talent. There's a picture of some of those groupers that were caught last weekend in that tournament. Now, the permit bite, that bite also remains consistent, not just one area, but this pattern's working throughout the whole region. Now, reports to the south seem to be a little bit better this week, but the same pattern as far as nearshore wrecks, artificial reefs, and towers applies to the whole region. To the whole coast, anchoring up, drifting in and around the structure, or running and gunning approaches. But when you make that running and gun approach and get on top of some of these wrecks, you want to be stealthy, looking for these big schools on top of the water for easier opportunity. You want to be using live crabs, 20-pound fluorocarbons. You can either free line those crabs, weighted, or, like I say, pulling up some of this structure, being stealthy. You can sight cast to the fish. There's another nice picture of a nice permit recently caught. And one of the keys about what's going on this week in my region, especially offshore, we've had a northeast blow up to 25 to 30 knots this whole week. So the winds are supposed to die down towards the weekend. No pressure on the fish. The fish haven't been chewing, so you get on some of that calmer water, fish should be biting once you get on top of them. The inshore bite, the redfish. Now the bite to the north along the east wall, west wall, Bull and Turtle Bay can be good at times, but there's something about a timing thing. Your early morning or late afternoon before dark at lower tides, you want to look for tailing fish on the flats or the edges. But also now, it's that time of year, you also want to look for schools of oversized fish, pushing wakes, traveling with jacks, pushing and busting bait schools. Now the higher water mangrove shorelines with deadwood or areas of shorelines with roaming mullet schools. Tailing fish, you want to be throwing gold spoons, bass assassin paddle tails, or vapor shads, hook weedless. Now your roaming schools, they get kind of spooky. You want to be having something you can cast a distance like topwater walk the dog lures, 1/2 ounce to 3/4 ounce gold spoons, and along the mangroves, live and cut pinfish, live pilchards or cut baits on the bottom. There's a couple prime examples of early morning and late afternoon redfish by the buddy of mine west, a recreational angler to the north. The last species is going to be the snook. Reports throughout the region have been good. Now to the north, Bull and Turtle Bay, plenty of fish grouped up. Even though a lot of these fish right now are 22 to 25 inches in that range, with some bigger fish along docks and some oversized fish roaming the flats. Intercoastal docks and seawalls from Fort Myers Beach to Marco also holding good numbers, especially at night. Now Marco down to the 10,000 islands, number of oversized snook along the beaches and passes and deeper mangrove shorelines with current. But further to the south, down towards the Everglades, that bite is starting to pick up around the beaches, river mouths, and points with current. Baits of choice are going to be live pilchards, live shrimp, cut baits on knocker rigs, and a variety of artificial walk-the-dog lures, gold and silver spoons, white and chartreuse, 4-inch paddle tails on a jig head. And I got a nice picture with a late afternoon bite with Captain Derek Daffin with a couple nice snook recently caught down in the southern end of the region.
All right, Ronnie, thank you so much. We really appreciate your dedication to this show for the last 20 years, and we're grateful for everything that you do for the Florida Insider Fishing Report.
It's my honor and a pleasure being here with both you guys.
All right,
thanks,
man.
Ronnie.
Well, it's time to take a look at the Serenity Bait Company hotspots from the Southwest region. Ronnie says, guys, inshore, tarpon from Cape Romano to Lossman's River, outer Gulf points, passes, and Gulf edges on the low water using large live baits, swim baits, and topwater plugs. And then if you want to go offshore fishing, the mangrove snappers from Marco to Fort Myers Beach, fishing wrecks, artificials in 45 to 65 feet of water, chumming and using cut baits to catch those big mangoes.
All right, well, it's time to mark your calendars for the CCA Homestead Banquet and Auction coming up May 4th at the Pavilion Harris Field Park from 6 to 10 p.m. Tickets include dinner, open bar, live band, 1-year CCA membership, along with auctions, raffles, and more. Tickets always sell out fast, so make sure to jump on this opportunity to have some fun while giving back to conserving Florida's marine resources. What, Rick?
Guess what?
What?
Who could have dinner with me anytime they want? You just got to show up May 4th.
You just got to show up. May the 4th be
That's
with
it.
you. The Discover Crystal River Northwest Region Captain has our weekend report swimming at us next, but we have some Taco Marine new product gazing to do at the CCA workbench with Dave first.
We got some cool stuff. Little troll pros, and some really cool poles. That's kind of how I was trying to go.
I see how that happened. We'll be back.
Tongue-tied.
Yeah, I reckon.
Some things never change.
No.
I reckon.
500th time.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Have fun out there. Penn, let the battle begin. Alta Equipment Company, where uptime matters. Ameritrail, load, launch, relax. Rodan, set it, forget it, catch more fish. Discover Crystal River, Florida. Bass Assassin and Saltwater Assassin. Best lures, period. And Maverick Boat Group, makers of premium boat brands Maverick, Hughes, Pathfinder, and Cobia.
And welcome to the Chevy Florida Fishing Report on Sun Sports. It's good to have you along with Captain Rick Murphy. I'm Whit Watson. Year number 2 brings 8 regional reports, up from 7, 90 minutes, customized weather tickers for every region, all right here in the next hour and a half on Sun Sports. So you'll find cobia often following rays, turtles, and sharks. And Rick, like dolphin last week, cobia have an annual migration on both coasts. Talk about that a little bit.
Absolutely. You know, Dave,
that was something.
It really was a lot of fun. We were pioneering fishing reports.
Yeah.
Now it just seems like old hat, but
and it was 20 minutes from my house.
It's not anymore. It's not anymore. But the cool part is the Taco Marine CCA workbench, and we're going to be trolling the edge with these guys. So why don't we just get right into the new products? You're going to start with the.
We're going to start with the Island Lures Tracker. I mean, they're not, they're not technically new, but they could be new to you. So that's what we're going to do them. You know, these are bullet-shaped little lures, and they're made to go in front of a bait, ballyhoo especially, to be trolled for kingfish, wahoos, dolphins, everything eats them. The little bullet shape is really good because any bullet shape like that will porpoise. It will want to come up like a boat hull, so it will always want to come up to the surface and do a little pop and then go down. The nylon fiber skirts are indestructible and just deadly. Like I said, just deadly with a little 7/0 in front of it. They're 4 1/4 inches long. They weigh 3/4 ounce. They come in all different colors and head sizes, and you can either get the Mylar series. So just really great little lures to put on front of your ballyhoos.
And where do we go to find
islandlures.com.
All right. Now what do we got?
Next we got the Troll Pro 3, and this is an underwater marine video housing. You can put a GoPro inside here or a Garmin Verb camera. It'll fit either one of those cameras, and you put them inside there, and it comes with a 32-ounce trolling weight. You can put that either out there by itself with the trolling weight, or you can put it in one of your dredges, and right down the center of your dredge. So when all the fish come in to look at your dredge, they're looking into the eye of the camera, which will be sitting right there. So you can really get some really great video of fish coming up into the spread, and you'll see a lot of them that you never even knew were there, which is really cool. And you can go to trollpro.com or fishraiser.com.
Thank you for the new. We're going to take this to
Mexico,
and we're going to try it out.
You need to take that out there and get it working. Next, we got some Nomad Vertrex. These are the Vertrex Vibe, and these are really cool little. They're like a combination between a hard bait, a jig, and a soft bait. They're kind of heavy. They sink really well. That's the Max 110. It's 4 1/3 inch long, and it weighs 1 1/3 ounces, I believe. And the Big Max there, the other one is 130. It's 5 inches and a little bit more than 2 ounces. Come in a lot of different colors, 10 different colors. It's pretty much like a lipless crankbait with a real extreme vibration. And that little tail, when it gets down to the bottom, and that little tail keeps jiggling, they will come and nail that thing. So it's a really good, good bait for snook and everything else.
Our good buddy Dave Workman. Strike Zone tackle.
These are Strike Zone. These are the Strike Zone surf fishing rods. These are all brand new. He gave me an 11, a 12, and a 13 to show off here.
Foot?
Yes, 11 foot, 12 foot, 13 foot. The 11 is 1 to 3 ounces. The 12 is 2 to 4 ounce weights, and the 13 is good to 4 to 7 ounce weight, which I can't imagine throwing a 7 ounce weight, but I imagine you could if you wanted to. I never use any. I use all 4 on all these rods, by the way. I even use this one. They're hybrid rods, which means that they're conventional. You can either use a conventional or a spinning reel on them. I have a conventional reel on this one, but my big ones I put a spinning reel on,
right.
and it works just fine. The guides are made
light.
Very light. They're fiberglass with Fuji reel seats and Fuji guides. Really well-made rods, especially for the price. So you go to Strike Zone up in Jacksonville, call 904-641-2433, and call them up, or go by Strike Zone and pick them up yourself.
Yeah, you could probably buy them online. But either way, guys, give them a call up there. Tell them Dave sent you. And you did a great job over here.
Yeah,
man.
You forgot about the frosting on the cake over there, guys.
I did.
It's another new product we have at the workbench.
I was able to get all the words out.
Good job, Dave. All right, the Discover Crystal River Northwest region is ready for another weekend on the water. So let's hear what we're reeling in with Captain Jeff Hageman. Go for it, Hag.
Sailfish, we occasionally get them. Mostly they're caught by bycatch from the kingfishermen this time of year when trolling or anchored up and trolling around there for kingfish. In August, it seems like we get a little bit more of them. I don't know if we get those calmer days that it's flatter out there and you can see more of them, but they're almost targetable in August and September there. When you're moving spot to spot, when you're offshore fishing, always keep a rod rigged, and if you got some live bait handy, get it rigged with, a thread fin or something. When you see these fish up there, they'll be finning just like everywhere else. Floating flotsam, birds working, a lot of bait. That's a good place to start looking for them when you're moving spot to spot. But what we do have a lot of right now, Captain Rob Davenport of Big Nasty Charters out of St. Pete reports on American Pompano. Right now, there have been plenty of American Pompano around the reefs and wrecks in 100 to 120 feet of water. You can catch them using live bait with 60-pound fluorocarbon leader and a 3 to 4 circle hook, free lining them over top of those wrecks. And I got a photo here for Captain Derek Molly with a beautiful AP.
That's a beautiful African boy. Beautiful.
That's insane.
What else you got?
Moving inshore, Captain Jim Pollard says really good redfish bite right now, early in the morning, finding redfish, chasing pilchards. Later, as the day heats up, the water's coming up, pitching baits and chunk baits underneath the trees is working really good. 20-pound fluorocarbon, 3 foot of it, and when he's chunking, he's moving up to 30. Moving up the coast a little bit, Captain Gary Bartels at Bozono Keys Marina says the schools of the mid-size slot redfish have showed up in big numbers right now with this consistent warmer weather. He's looking for mullet schools and targeting those calm pockets of water around the outer St. Martin Keys in Ozona in the incoming tide. He's using a live shrimp under a popping cork with 24 inches of 20-pound fluorocarbon leader and a 4-aught circle hook will do the ticket. And moving up the coast all the way up to Apalachicola, Captain John Lane of JB Charters reports a good redfish bite right now. Really good on the outside beaches and passes. The bite tends to be best at the top of the end of the tide, mainly on the rise right before it slows down, using a standard Carolina rig with 3/4 to an ounce of lead, 4-aught circle hook on with a large shrimp. And I got a couple photos here. The first one is Brody Bartell and his cousin Damon with some great redfish they caught while swimming in the live well too to cool off. So they're a little wet there.
Tell us about the big
photo I got
superfish.
here is a pair of big bull redfish with Captain John aboard JB Charters. A couple studs right there.
Yes, sir. All right, tell us about Captain Lee.
Captain Lee, Shallow Seas Charters, reports continuing strong trout bite this week in St. Joe Bay, working the deeper grass flat edges, is producing some larger fish. The smaller fish are present too, so it's going to be a good next year with those smaller fish moving up. Soft, light-colored plastic paddle tails is deadly, and the baits worked top water early in the morning and late day are also working really well. The water is crystal clear. You can't stress it enough. 15 to 20-pound fluorocarbon leader is a must with as clear as it is right now to keep those baits hidden. Captain Mario Costello of Tall Tales Charters fishing out of Ozella Keys Marina also reports a good trout bite in the creeks and backcountries. Crystal River to Ozella, he's using a 5.5 jerkbait on a standard worm hook, normally used for bass fishing. He's rigging it weedless with no weight and working it like a topwater bait, like a walk the dog kind of bait, in those shallow potholes in 18 to 24 inches. Light leader, he says, is also a must. They have both got those crystal clear water right now, and he's using 12 to 15-pound fluorocarbon as well, and he's keeping it from spooking those big trout in those potholes up there. Most of the trout right now are ranging anywhere from 16 to 20 inches. And I got a photo here of Clint Arkinson with Captain Mario Costello with a nice 22-inch trout on a recent trip.
That is a pretty trout.
Nice.
Thank you for all the pictures this week. Captain Jeff, we're going to go and take a look at the Ozella Key Marina hotspots. Jeff says that we want to look inshore for redfish from the middle of to the top of the tide. Use cut pinfish and ladyfish for bait on a 4-0 circle hook, and then offshore, grunt sea bass, hogfish on flat rock off of Tarpon Springs, and 45 to 55 feet of water, use cut squid or pieces of shrimp on a chicken rig for bait.
All right, well, coming up, we're headed to the Northeast and SEASUCKER Panhandle regions with Pat Deneen, who's obviously here with us. Yeah. But before we go on, we want to remind you to keep up with all things fishing in Florida. Plus, Rick, the captains, and I scan the QR code on your screen to let the Angling Odyssey begin. You'll gain access to all of our social media outlets with new fishing adventures, tips, reports, and more. So scan away and subscribe. We will be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by StarTron. Start, run, and store with StarTron. Berkeley, your fish, our science. CCA Florida, the voice of recreational anglers for over 35 years. Tin Cup, Mountain Whiskey. The Florida Keys and Key West. Come as you are. Diamond Fishing Products. Our reputation is on the line. Murphy's Law Sport Fishing. Book your trip today at murphyslawsportfishing.com. And Strike Zone Fishing.
As you can see, joining me is Ismael, the head of operations at our studio here at Media Pro USA. You know, Ismael, we celebrated our 100th episode with the sister show, the Texas Insider Fishing Report, with you guys a few years ago. And now, here we are, our 500th episode. 20 years of being on the air, and we are so grateful to have this beautiful facility and all the great staff help us each week to put on both these shows.
Thank you, Rick, and thanks for having me. Believe me when I say that we are honored to be the home of your show and to call ourselves part of the Fishing Report family.
So let's talk a little bit about Media Pro. You guys have many studios here, but you're also a global company. How many employees do we have, and then how many countries are we in?
I mean, that's easy. We are 7,500 employees around the world. We have 50 offices distributed in 34 countries, and in most of them, we provide broadcast and media services like studio operations, playout services, among others like trucks. We produce a lot of leagues, sports leagues like the Spanish Soccer League, but we also do other sports as, for instance, basketball. We did projects for NBA, we did projects for college football here in the States.
Yeah, right here in Miami, we have CNN across the hall from us in regards to the Spanish CNN, correct?
Yeah, of course. And we have many other clients that I'm not going to mention because probably they are competitors of your network.
That's all right. Well, we're grateful that you're here. And more importantly, we wanted to make sure that we present this to you. This is a good friend of mine, Guy Harvey. He created this for the 500th episode for you to have in your office and to share with all your employees.
Yeah. So
we appreciate everything.
I appreciate it. That's awesome. Thank you very much. And I mean, I just want to say that we are going to keep going. I'm sure that we are going to celebrate much more than 500 shows. And I mean,
it's great. As long as we have no other fishing shows, I want to be just totally exclusive.
Yeah, I mean, your show is so unique that, of course, actually is the only fishing show that we produce among hundreds of shows we produce worldwide.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Brie,
much.
where are we going next?
All right, we're sailing into the Northeast region, and we're going to go find some clean blue water with Captain Tommy Derringer. Hey, Tommy, what's going on?
Hey, Brie, that's right, clean water. Hey, congratulations to everybody on the 500 show. That's quite the accomplishment. I'm glad I could be at least a little bit of a part of it. So, yeah, you know, the sail fishing. Sailfish is a big deal here in the Northeast region. This is a great time of year to go hunt down some sailfish. We get a good number of fish right now coming up from the south. The offshore captains here in the region, they tell me the key to locating those sailfish, like Brie was talking about, finding the clear, clean blue water. You can just start just inside the ledge and work your way to the Gulf Stream and even beyond that. You're gonna look for current edges, color changes, some flying fish. Those are all great things. You know, in those same areas right now, guys, there's some big blackfin tunas, so be on the lookout for those as well. Now, most guys are gonna troll pretty slow for the sailfish in that 5 to 6 knot range while dragging naked or skirted ballyhoo. Captain Jason Hadges from jhookfishingcharters.com has always told me the better or more natural that your ballyhoo swims while trolling, that can mean a really big difference in getting a sailfish to bite. So work on that. Now, as it heats up heading over the next couple of months, the sailfish are going to push in closer to near shore stuff along the reefs and the wrecks. You know, every year there's a few good ones caught right at 9 Mile Reef out of St. Augustine. So you don't even need a giant boat to get out there. You can even find them in as close as a mile or two of the beach when the bait gets really thick, when those pogies are in there. Now, there are even a few rare sailfish right along the beach throughout the region. One was even caught along the rip line at the Mayport Inlet last year. Now, no matter how you do it, sailfish is always fun. It's a staple for us here in the Northeast region. And I've got a photo here. Captain Jason Hadges sent me this awesome shot of his mate and a fired up sailfish that they hooked into east of St. Augustine. How about that action shot? That's pretty cool right there.
That's really cool.
It's nice.
All right, what else for us?
All right, man, the cobia. You know, the cobia season has started up throughout the region over the past couple of weeks, really, and then got abruptly shut down with this late season nor'easter that we're having right now this week. Now, it looks like we may have another window, probably after this weekend, to get back out and take a look for some migrating manta rays and cobia. And most of the fish were being caught in the south end of the region from Daytona up to about the Flagler Beach Pier. Now, after the northeast blow we just had, those mannas and the fish should start to make their way back up the coast. They probably got blown down a little bit. Now, the magic number last week seemed to be in that 35 to 40 foot range. And although most of the rays really don't seem to have as many fish on them these days, there's a couple nice fish to be had. You just got to stick with it. You know, the ones we did catch, we caught on the Saltwater Assassin, the 6-inch sea shad paddle tail. We're rigging that on a 1-ounce jig head. You can launch it a mile. It's a great bait. And I've got another photo here, guys. My buddy, John Baker, sent me this photo of him and his daughter, Sarah, with a couple of nice cobes that they caught along the beach last week. Now, moving inshore, the topwater trout bite, guys, it's been going off, even with the change in the weather this week. You know, we've had a low incoming tide this week, but the water has been way higher than normal with that northeast wind, and the finger mullet have been pushed into the grass edges on the west side of the ICW. Now, if you get out early and find a concentration of mullet, you can bet there's going to be some hungry trout around. Now, my new go-to topwater plug, that Berkley Jaywalker 120, has been getting absolutely smoked by some big trout here lately. And my favorite color has really been the black and gold, although we've been catching them on all kinds of different colors. Now, also inshore, you know, this is a great time of year to target redfish in my region. There's so many different ways that you can catch them right now. You know, as far as live bait goes, a finger mullet is going to probably be your best bet. Now, on some of these windier days we've been having, the water's been really stirred up and it's kind of murky. I've gone to a cut piece of mullet or even a cut piece of ladyfish to make it a little easier for the fish to find the bait. Now, we even had a little sneaky flood tide happening earlier in the week, and I did get a couple of reports of some fish being caught up in the grass, but man, my favorite way to catch them this time of year has to be on a topwater, and we've had some epic topwater days here lately. Just like I talked about with the trout, the key is finding the schools of mullet, especially the schools that look nervous or those schools that are getting busted. The fun thing right now is when you find those mullet, not only will the redfish be there, but the trout, the jacks, the blues, maybe even a snook, they're all going to chase your topwater down. Really exciting way to catch those fish. And I've got one last picture here. This is James Simmons with a chunky redfish that he caught with me on that Berkley Jaywalker 120 plug.
Yeah, man. What's your favorite color in the 120 there, Tommy?
That black gold or that one there, I think it's the pilchard color.
Yeah, that's it.
Man, the action's so good. Action is so good on that plug. The color, I don't know if it matters that much. It works though. All
right, bud. Thank you so much. It works because you know how to work it. All right, bud. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the strike zone hotspots from the northeast region. He says inshore, redfish and trout on the topwater plugs at first light and at dusk, and then target the schools of finger mullet. Offshore, sailfish, blackfin tunas, mahis throughout the region. At the stream, Brie.
All right, Rick, this is exciting. We have another OG captain from way up in the Seasucker Panhandle region. Long way away, live in the studio. Thanks for coming down.
That's awesome to be here. Thanks.
I didn't think they'd let Pat south of Okeechobee. I'm just glad to see him here.
Oh, we are too. Glad you made it. All right, Patty Pants, let's hear your report.
Yeah, I tell you what, sailfish are caught off the Panhandle, but they're usually caught summer months and into the fall months, basically May to October. But unlike Southeast Florida where they're targeted, our sailfish are mainly caught by guys targeting other fish, mostly king mackerels, live baiting for kingfish. Anywhere you're going to find large concentrations of bait, then that's where you're possibly going to encounter a sailfish. And additionally, sailfish are caught off the Gulf side piers from Panama City to Pensacola. Those piers hold a lot of minnows throughout the summer, and I'm assuming that's why they come in by the beach after those baits. The anglers do start to target sailfish and white marlin as well, late August through September and into October. Offshore, the southwest edge towards the nipple and the elbow by trolling dredges, teasers, and rigged ballyhoo. Otherwise, they are mostly caught offshore while trolling a mixed spread for pelagics. And there's a photo of a cool shot of a sailfish we caught off the out of here, pulling dredges, fishing naked ballyhoos, and using circle hooks.
That's a cool picture,
in
Pat.
your face.
Yeah, man. All right, what else you got?
Rick, staying offshore, the wahoo have been a fairly common catch by offshore anglers recently off the Panhandle. It seems to be a little early to be talking about wahoos, but crews going offshore bottom fishing or deep dropping, they've been pulling lures and catching some wahoos and some pretty good ones as well. The Okaloosa Fads by the Spur, great place to target them, or really near anything floating like grass patches and flotsam. But if you're traveling from spot to spot bottom fishing and cruising below 16 knots or so, it pays to have a lure or two out. And black and red, purple and red, blue and white, all good color combinations. But you want to make sure your troll baits stay in the water. You don't really want them coming out of the water very much. I like to use a trolling lead, 15 to 20 feet a leader between the lead and the lure, and that keeps that bait down low for them. Average size is probably about 30 pounds, but they can get much bigger as well. And there's a throwback photo, Rick, from 2015 season. That's Captain Chuck Bonner, a pretty wahoo they caught while targeting sailfish with live bait. So another welcome bycatch while king fishing right there.
That's a beautiful fish, man. All right, let's go inshore, Papa.
Rick, moving inshore like last week, the speckled trout fishing remains pretty consistent in the Florida Panhandle. I think Jeff Hageman, he must have spoke to the same fellow I did at St. Joe, because
That dude's playing both of y'all.
Yes, he is. That's right. But they are on the grass flats, or on the grass outside of the bayou mouths, like West Bay, North Bay, East Bay, and Panama City. You get further up into those bay waters. Look for those deeper edges for the bigger trout. Soft plastics, mid swim baits are great choices, as are topwater baits early and late in the day. And then over in Santa Rosa Sound, Captain Chuck Kemper, he's been wearing out some redfish recently, but while doing so, they've been catching and releasing some really nice, healthy gator trout, using shrimp under a cork and a bass assassin paddle tail baits as well. And there's a photo sent in from Captain Lee Thompson over in St. Joe with a nice trout they caught fishing the flats in St. Joe Bay. That's
nice.
A healthy one right there.
All right, let's go Spanish mackerel.
Rick, if you're not catching Spanish mackerel in our region right now, then you're not fishing for them. I mean, lots of Spanish are being caught throughout the entire Panhandle, from the Cape to Floribama, really. You're going to find them along the beaches, in the inlets, and inside the bays. If you're running the beach looking for cobia or other fish, pull some Spanish Christmas trees behind you. You're going to get some Spanish, no doubt, and some pretty good ones too. Some up 3-4 pounds. Inside St. Andrews troll or cast spoons around the points and the range markers. Destin fish the channels in and around Crab Island and up in the harbor. And over in Pensacola, fish the drop near Fort Pickens or the north side near the Navy base. Seems like I said, it seems like great as Spanish mackerel are picking up, and there's been some good ones being caught.
You know, Pat, you've been here since the start. Grateful.
And
you know what? Those hands are just as rough as when we started, but I appreciate everything. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the blue water outrigger hotspots Pat and I are. He says that inshore you want to go redfish on the docks and the potholes of the Santa Rosa Sound west of Navarre. Use live shrimp under a float, soft paddle tail baits, and gold spoons. And then offshore, try those big bull mango snappers on wrecks and natural bottom in 130 to 180 feet of water. The bigger fish are coming from the deeper spots, dudes. Check it out.
All right, it's time to show your support for Florida's fisheries with a Conserve Florida's Fisheries license plate. For just $25, proceeds for the redfish tag support protecting and enhancing Florida's saltwater marine resources, habitat restoration, water quality, and coastal environmental education. Get this beautiful addition at your local DMV or visit redfishtag.com for more information. Hi, Rick.
Hey, Brie. You know, the other thing that's so cool about CCA is...
Tell me.
All the different things they do. The one that comes to mind is all the artificial reefs. They've dropped over 60 tons of concrete on some of these wrecks. It's great, and it also gives the divers a lot of things to do as well.
Always giving back. All
Yeah,
right,
man.
stay with us. The Real Legends Central East region gets their sail on. We come back on the 500th episode of the Florida Insider Fishing Report. We'll be right back.
All right.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Fenwick. Feel everything. Island Lures. Tournament Tackle. The IGFA. Every fish, every water, every angler since 1939. Sportsman's Adventures with Captain Rick Murphy. Fishing for adventure. Real Legends. Available at bellsflorida.com. DYNAPAC. Your partner on the road. And Taco Marine. Troll the edge.
Today's Power Pull tip is about the new Power Pull Charge power management station. The cool thing about the Charge is it replaces 3 systems on your boat. It replaces your traditional 3 or 4 bank battery charger, so when you're at the house you plug it into the wall. The Power Pull Charge is going to optimize and balance your batteries like nothing ever out there. It also replaces your on-the-run charger, so anytime you've got the Yamaha running, it's going to replace the power in your trolling motor batteries and your cranking batteries all day while you're running from spot to spot. And the third thing it does, it's got an emergency start feature in it. So if you're ever out there and your cranking battery dies and you can't get the motor started, go to the Sea Monster app, transfer the power, and you're good to go. Get back to the dock. For any more information about the Power Pull Charge, you can go to powerpull.com or stop by one of your local dealers. That's your Power Pull tip.
Brie Gabrielle, your brand new co-host of the Chevy Florida Insider Fishing Report. Welcome, Brie.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Got a new house, a new girl. I feel like I've been in a divorce or something.
Wow.
What happened?
Dun,
None.
dun, Okay, sorry. I had to do that.
So look how fun you used to be.
I just threw a balloon. I'm still fun. I might be a mom now, but I'm still fun.
Oh, that was 10 years ago, Brie.
Oh, don't remind me.
Wow.
Miss Florida, married, babies, and I haven't slept since. All right, Captain Jim Ross is wrapping things up for us in the
That's
Real
why she's
Edge
no fun.
Central East region. So Jim, tell us what we're fishing for.
Well, I just want to say I like Rick's hat. He's got a really good taste in hats, you know.
Me too.
And Brie, of course, you know, having you on the show has been a huge addition. 500 shows. 500. That is a testament to how good a crew that Rick has put together here. Rick deserves as much of it as anybody because he's the one that's really held the whole thing together. And I'll tell you what, it's been a lot of fun being a part of this ride. You know, sailfish in my region are best in the south part of the region for the most part. Guys and gals that are getting down in there in the Wabasso through Sebastian area, they've got cleaner water closer to shore down there, and so the 70 to 90 foot areas are typically pretty good for sailfish, and then all the way out to about 180 feet. Now, most of the guys down in that part of the region are starting to slow troll or drift with kite fishing, or doing kite fishing with live baits, and that seems to be really, really productive. In the middle and north part of my region, from Canaveral north up to the Ponce Inlet area, New Smyrna area, you're able to slow troll with live baits and catch fish. But I tell you, a small ballyhoo rigged naked, either split billed or with a little chin weight, that is the best way to catch a sailfish at 4 to 5 knots. And you know, if you've got a little bit of chop out there and you need to create a little bit of commotion, put just a small skirt over it. The one thing that with sailfish you have to remember is they primarily eat a little bit smaller baits than some of the other fish. They're kind of like blackfin tuna in that regard. And so if you will put smaller baits out there, pull just a little bit slower, you have a tendency to get more bites. Now, I have also heard of sailfish being caught at up to 26 knots. And that may seem just crazy, but I have seen pictures of fish that were caught while guys were crossing back and forth to the Bahamas. So any speed will work if the fish is aggressive enough. But you know, our average fish right now is running about 30 to 40 pounds, and our season is getting ready to kick off in a big way. So you guys and gals get out there and start looking at the edge of the stream. Those weeds are starting to form up, and when you get on those weed edges and you've got clean water and a temperature break, you're going to find sailfish.
Tell me about the photo, bub. We got to go.
Well, we don't have a photo for the sailfish, but we do have to go to the cobia, because the cobia bite right now, you know, as Tommy was mentioning, our cobia bite is getting better and better with this northeast breeze. It's blowing all the fish that had gotten up to Tommy's region back to us, so we get another shot at them. Manta rays are all up and down the beach right now. You're going to find them from anywhere from the Cape all the way north up to the New Smyrna area, Bethune Beach, around the parking lots, Playa Linda Beach. There's a lot of fish inshore right now, and you're going to find cobia on those manta rays. Also out on the 70 to 90 foot reefs, especially down in the Vero area, up through about the Bethel Shoal area or South Pelican Flats, you're going to get a lot of cobia up there. Now, most of our cobia are less than 36 inches, so please make sure you net them. If you don't, then you're probably going to have a hole in a fish that's a little bit too small to keep. So just be very, very careful with those fish, and if you net them, you can generally control them better than you can with a gap anyway, no matter what size they are. Swinging inshore, snooker holding on the jetties in all 3 of the inlets right now. Live baits like croakers, pilchards, and pinfish are the top producers for the guys that are fishing in the daytime. Now remember, if you're fishing from the pier, stop casting as far as you can away from the pier. You're throwing your bait as far away from the snook as you possibly can. Drop it at your feet or just 10 or 20 feet out in front of you. That's where the snooker's sitting. For the guys that are fishing from boats, obviously you want to get as close to the structure as possible with those baits. I like to use a Pin Slammer 5500 or even a 6500 reel with 30 to 40 pound braid on it and a 50 pound leader. That seems to be the best overall for me. And nighttime anglers, especially the guys fishing down at Sebastian Inlet, flare hawks, large swim baits like the Assassin, the big 5 and 6 inch Assassin baits seem to be working really good right now, as well as lip diving plugs.
You got 20.
Incoming tides have been better for the swim baits lately here, especially around the cleaning tables and the T-dock down there at Sebastian.
Jimmy, 20 seconds on the black drum, bub. Let's go.
Okay, our average snook is running 28 to 38 inches. Black drum are everywhere. Cocoa Beach, Thousand Islands, George's Bar, Slippery Creek, Honest John's Canals. Look for the glass minnows. You're going to use live shrimp on a jig head, and most of our fish are running 2 to 5 pounds. I've got a picture here. double black drum, and those fish are just about everywhere right now throughout the region, which is really cool.
All right, bud, thanks. Thank you so much for all the pictures and the nice words. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at the Rodan Marine System hotspots inshore, Sebastian Inlet for the nighttime snook. Fish with R&R tackle flare hog style jigs on the outgoing tide east of the A1A bridge, and 5-inch Assassin Artemis shad swim baits throughout the inlets on the incoming tide. And then offshore, cobias and 70 to 90 foot reefs throughout the region. Use pilchards, pogies, croakers, and fish up to 40 pounds are gonna be caught.
For the 500th time, it's time to get out there and show us what you got. But stay hooked so you can find out what we're fishing for next week. 500. Well, next week we're talking surf, so make sure to tune in. We're celebrating. We're celebrating 500. Man.
Amazing.
What happened, Brie?
I don't know. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you go out and catch those sales. Thank you all for being here. 500.
Cheers,
there
everybody.
There we go. Cheers.
Cheers.
Woo!